Hello everybody, we are working on 16.1 of Murach's Visual Basic 2015, which is build the customer maintenance application. And I've already downloaded and unzipped and opened up the starter files. So here we are. All right, step one, we unzipped everything, we opened it up, and it just wants us to look at some of the code here and noticing that, like, here where we load the state combo box, this is commented out. Here where we add a customer, that's commented out. So we're going to build like the customer DB. We're going to build the state DB. Actually, I know that get customer, do we have that somewhere? Oh, that's going to be on the customer maintenance form. Getting the customer, that's commented out. Okay, so that's the stuff that we're going to be finishing up for this exercise. Step two is run the application and see that it doesn't work. We don't need to do that. I'm going to move on to step three. So step three, well, really 3 through 7 is write the code to retrieve a customer. Step three is add a class called MMA Books DB to the project. So I'm going to go to add class. This class is called MMA Books DB. There it is. Then add a method named getConnection. And you'll add the code that is shown in 16.11. And for this to work, we need to add an import statement at the top that this is going to import system.data.sql client. All right. So now this function returns the SQL connection for us. And I'm going to jump over to 16.11. And I'm going to take the code out of the bottom of 16.11. So we're building a connection string. Data source is a local database of type MS SQL local DB. And the attach DB file name is equal to our data directory. And this file is called mmabooks.mdf. And you notice that the database is right here. Okay. Semicolon there. And integrated security equals true. So we make this connection string, like triple check this, that everything is spelled right. You don't have any typos in here, because one little typo and this is not going to work. And we are returning the SQL connection. So now whenever we need this SQL connection, we're just going to call MMA Books DB get connection. All right, that was step three. Add another class. I'm on to step 4 now. Add another class. So I just right click on the project, add class. And this one is called customer DB. And same thing, because this is interacting with database, we import system.data.sql client. Step 5, add a method named getCustomer. get customer is probably going to take in customer ID as integer, and okay, so I have a public shared function get customer. It accepts a customer ID as an argument. It returns type customer, and it's return a customer object for that customer. And the code is shown in 1610. And it says part 1. So 1610 is actually 3 parts. But we're looking at part 1, which is on page 557. The first thing we do is we make a new customer. We're going to use this. This is the customer that we're going to return from this function. And then dim connection as SQL connection is equal to MMA books.db.getConnection. So this is going to call the getConnection function from MMA books DB, which is that class that we created over here. Oh, I better save that. And so that's going to create this SQL connection based on this string, this connection string, and return it. And we're going to save that back here into this variable we just called connection. Okay, so now we have our select statement, which is going to be, they put it on multiple lines, that's fine. And you know, the word like select doesn't have to be uppercase, but it's kind of easier to read it when it is. And we're selecting all these fields. I know the book writes out customer ID, name, address, but I'm not going to do that. Select star. From customers, where customer ID is equal to this parameter placeholder customer ID. Put spaces around that. So here's the thing, and so I just want to take this and throw it in a message box.show, and then just want to return nothing, just so it returns something, so this actually works. I'm going to save this. I'm going to run this because I want you to see what the select statement is, because I guarantee one of you, if not many of you, are going to have this error. Okay, so we actually never ran our select statement. If I look at the customer maintenance, oops, wrong button again. If I look at the customer maintenance form, I look what happens when somebody clicks on this. We actually have to have it to run this get customer, right? Because now we have a customer DB class. I just made that. That's what we did over here. And we have this get customer function. That's the one I just wrote, which is going to return nothing, but that's completely okay. All I want to do is be able to see what that connection string is. Okay, and hopefully here you see what the problem is. So what I wrote was select star ampersand from customers ampersand where customer ID equals at customer ID. But notice after the star, I just have a quote right away, and then I have another quote here from customers. So between star and the F in from, I don't have a space. And between the S in customers and the W in where, I don't have a space. So my select statement is select star from, and that's going to fail. All right. So make sure you have trailing spaces here. Select star space from customers space where customer ID equals customer ID. You can put, typically the spaces at the end of the line is what what I use, what I see other programmers use. Putting them in the beginning, I don't know, maybe you can visualize it a little bit better, but at the end it's fine. All right, get rid of that message box. That's not what we want to do. What we want to do is I want to make a select command. We're not running already, nope. As new SQL command. And remember, SQL command, I'm going to send 2 arguments to it. I'm going to send the select statement and the connection. And our select statement has a parameter, this customer ID. So let's add that parameter. Let's give that a value. So on select command, the parameters list, I'm going to add with value, and the parameter is customer ID, and the value that I want to replace this with is what was given to me as an argument of the function, just customer ID. All right. So now I'm going to insert a snippet. That's KX. It's been a little while. KX, I need a try, catch, finally end. Great. What I want to try to do is connection.open. So the very first thing is going to open that connection to the database. Then I need to create a SQL data reader, which is, let me just write this out and then we can talk about it. So I have this reader now, which is going to be created by executing our SQL command. And I know I'm only getting 1 row back, right? Because customer ID is the primary key. So no matter what, I'm only getting 1 row back. I would not use custom or command behavior single row here if I was doing like, select all customers who live in New York or something like that. So, and remember, as you're doing this, I'm explaining this to you. The code is coming from the book, but I need you to write in here what's going on. So in this case, like if reader.read, then we were able to get a row back from the select statement. And then here, this else, no customer found, right? So make sure you put comments in like this, and you don't have to use my exact comments. I'd actually prefer if you didn't use my exact comments, but all right, so we need to fill this out. If reader.read, then we need to take customer.customer ID is equal to, so this is the customer ID property for the customer object, which we created here, right? This is what's going to get returned. And from the reader, I'm going to, all right, this is good that it's going to throw an error. Okay. I need to take this and I need to, let me just write it out, then I'll explain what's going on. All right, from our reader, we were able to grab that row. I'm going to take the customer ID field, convert it to an integer, and store it back in this customer ID record. So similarly, customer.name equals reader name. This is the name field. We need to convert it to a string. Customer.address equals reader address. And then maybe you do like on this one, you can do C string, that does the same thing. These are the exact same thing. And I kind of like using this instead of cint, only because if I were working on this, what I would do is once I have this one done, I hit Control D to duplicate this line. I'm going to delete the property of the object and the field that I'm reading, and I'm also going to delete the casting. And actually, I know that everything coming up is going to be C string. And then I'm going to make a bunch of copies of this, Control D. And now I know, okay, this is name, address, city, state, zip code. And then I can copy name because I know that's the name field in the database, the address field in the database, the city field in the database, the state field in the database, and the zip code field in the database. They just happen to be the same. The property name of the object and the field name coming back from the row. But to me, this is easier because if I needed something else, let's say this person had, I don't know, an age, right? So I can hit Control D for duplicate. I would say the customer's age, we're reading it as the age, and I need to convert it to an int. So I would cint that. So the customer does not have an age, though. I was just showing that as an example of why I would use cint and C string instead of reader name .toString as the book shows. Okay. We're going to catch any SQL exceptions, and I'm just going to rethrow that. And finally, remember, finally will happen no matter what, whether the try was successful or a exception was caught. And then I want to just return the customer. And that should make the function happy. Save that. And at this point, going back to the customer maintenance form. So I click that in my Solution Explorer, hit F7, and make sure line 22, you uncomment that line. So it was commented out. We're uncommenting that, so this actually does something. That would have been step 6. And then run the application. Does it tell us what customer? Oh, customer 27. That's the lucky customer. Get customer. It opens the database, grabs that customer. It returns the customer as an object, and then the customer maintenance form. Here, so this is saying get this customer, and then it's going to display the customer. It handles that for us. So if you type in 27, you hit get customer, and you do not get Vincent from Boise, Idaho back in your system, then go back and look at what you did. If you're getting a connection error, look at this connection string, make sure that's good. If you're getting a SQL error, check the spaces here. But there's plenty of opportunities to get errors on this. All right. Oh, didn't want to close that. We're still running. I'm going to hit customer 27, get customer, click on modify, and it says, notice there's no value displayed in the state combo box. Yep. And there's no items. Yep. That's because you haven't added the code to retrieve the list of states. Click the cancel button and end the application. And now we're going to create the state DB class. I'm on step 8. Right click on customer maintenance project, add another class, calling this one state DB. So we need that import statement at the top again because we're going to be using, SQL command and all that good stuff. And we need a function. Where am I? Step 9. A method named getStateList. So getStateList returns a list of states. And again, we're going to reference 1611 to get the list of states. Okay. So this is what I'm returning, right? And because of that, I'll put that right there. So I have a new list of states, and then I need that SQL connection again. dim connection as SQL connection equals MMA books.get connection. That sounds really familiar. Oh, that's right. We did it right here. Copy that from customer DB, go back to state DB, paste it. We're going to use that connection there. And then I need a select statement. Well, you know what? I'm going to use a lot of this one. Okay, and my select statement is select state code, state name. Well, I'm just selecting star from states. And then I don't have a whereby clause. I'm going to do order by state name to put these in alphabetical order. So my select command, actually, again, it's pretty much the same thing here. I'm going to grab these couple rows, paste it in here. Select command. We're not adding a parameter because we have no parameters here. So now I have my select command. I want to insert this code snippet to try to do this thing. And we're going to, and again, this is so much similar to customer DB. I'm going to open the connection. I need a new reader. Copy that, paste that. However, in this case, I'm not getting back one row. So this command behavior single row, I'm going to take that out because I'm going to get multiple rows back. And then, so the book has me do this. Dim state as state, and then do while reader.read. So while I'm able to read something from the state, state equals new state. So we're going to reset this guy. And if you recall from this week's lecture, I called this reusable state just because we were using the word state too often in here, but that's okay. We'll leave it just like that. State.state code. Let me just look at state real quick. Yeah, so state only has one constructor. So we actually need to make the state, and then we're going to set the code. So this is, remember, reader, and then we access the field name, state code, and then we're going to convert this to a string. If I didn't convert it to a string, it's going to yell at me because this is an object. Reader state code is an object right now, and what we need to do is take this and get the value of it and convert it to a string. So state code and state name. So now I have a single state that's holding the code and name from my database for one record. I need to take that state that I have as a single state, and I need to add it to my state list. And I'm going to keep doing this while I'm able to read something from the database. And I'm going to put reader.close here. And now let me look at something. I don't remember putting reader close on the customer DB. No, I forgot that. After my end if, I got to close that reader. I mean, you don't have to, but otherwise you're going to just, I don't know, you're leaving stuff open. It's opportunity for memory leaks and inefficiencies. All right, so after my loop, I'm going to close that. I'm just going to copy this stuff. I'm going to paste it here. We're not returning customer though. Okay, so we try to do all this stuff. If we have a SQL exception, we're going to catch it and throw it again. When we're all done, we're going to close up the connection, and then we're going to return that state list. And just making sure that, oh, that's on that customer form. Okay, save that. That was step 9. Display the code for the add modify customer form. I'm going to click on add modify customer, hit F7 to display the code, and uncomment out this line, because now I have the state DB class in my project, and I have the get state list function. That's the one I just wrote, and I know it returns a list of states. And save, run the application, customer 27, get the customer, I'm going to hit modify, and now we have the state dropdown is populated, and that's coming from my database. Cool. So we'll click the modify button, the state list should be populated. However, you can't modify the data for the customer because you haven't added the code to do that. So if I click modify and I change something like this and hit accept, we get that error. Okay, so exit out of the application. We need to add a method named update customer to the customer DB class. And if you are following along, update customer is the giant function on starting on page 559. And I just wanted to take a peek at this. It'll return true if the record was updated or false otherwise. So step 11, add a method named update customer. And it's important that you get these names right. If you do like update underscore customer, that's not the method that's called from the classes that were already given to you. So make sure you get those right. All right, update customer takes 2 customer objects. So it's going to receive old customer, new customer. And it's going to return a Boolean value. So again, the reason we're taking the old customer and the new customer is when we do our update, we're going to make sure that the record hasn't been changed yet. All right, the code is figure 1610. And again, like this is not enough commenting. All right, what I have here, like figure 1610 help me. No, I need to know that you understand what's going on here. So for my class, make sure you're commenting your code. So I know when I read your code and I see you took the code from the book, which is perfectly fine. I said you can do that, but I should be able to point to something like this, reader.read. What does this do? And your comments surrounding that area should let me know you know what's going on. Okay, so update customer. It's a lot of code, but it's a lot of copy paste as well. So we're going to start with of course, we are connecting to the database. And then I have dim update statement, which is just a string. Update customer set. And what we're setting is name equals at new name, comma, space, and. All right. So we are going to update customers. The database, the table is plural. Update customer set name equals new name. So this is the field in the database, and this is a parameter that we're going to assign a value to pretty soon. And our customers have a name, they have an address. So I just hit Control D, and I'm just removing those things. So this is going to be address, Control D again, city, again, state, again, zip code. Is that all we're updating? Yep. Okay, so now I'm going to write these out. Address, city, state, zip code. Oops, and these should all say new. And I can get rid of that comma. So that was just copy paste a bunch of stuff to try to be efficient. Okay, so if I left it like this, actually, I'm going to just continue. I'm not going to write out the whole update statement yet. So we need to make our SQL command from the update statement and the connection. And now I need to add parameters for new name, new address, new city, new state, new zip, and customer ID. So I'm going to do update command dot parameters dot add with value. The parameter name that I want to update is new name. And what is the value that I want to put into new name? Well, it's coming from my new customer, and it's coming in the name field. And I need to do that with address, city, state, zip code. And this is just a lot of copy paste. So we handled these parameters, and we have one more parameter that's hanging out here that we haven't given a value yet to, and that is customer ID. And customer ID is the same in new customer and old customer. Wonder why that's blue and underlined. Anyhow. So actually they're using, they actually in the book uses old customer ID. I don't think it really matters, but we'll pull it from old customer. New customer might not have a customer ID. Oh, that's probably what was going on. All right. But my parameter, I'm calling it customer ID. The book actually calls it old customer ID, but whatever. And then, we have this, I was seeing if I can just copy something quickly, but I can't. So we're going to open the connection. And then I'm on the wrong bit here. I'm on the update command dot execute non-query. So once my command is all put together with the parameters, I'm going to run it with execute non-query, because I'm not running this to get something back. I'm running an update statement. Update customers, blah, blah, blah. So execute non-query will not return data, but it does return. You see we're getting a count back here. It's telling us how many records get returned. So if it's successful, we should have 1. And if it's unsuccessful, we should get 0. So if count, and remember our function returned a Boolean, which is whether this was successful or not. If count's greater than 0, then return true, else return false. And then just clean this up with the catching it. Okay, so I do want to look at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of code, which I think is pretty ugly. So what we're saying is if, and I'm going to take this and put it in parentheses, if count is greater than 0, if this equates to true, right? Because that's what an if statement does. It's saying if we check some condition and it's true, then do the stuff inside, that's inside that condition. So if count is greater than 0, works out to be true, then return true. Otherwise, count is not greater than 0, that equates to false, return false. So what we could do is just say return count greater than 0. And I'm just going to KC this to comment it out. But to show you that, this was 5 lines of code, and I just condensed it down to 1 line of code. I'm just saying return count greater than 0. So still same thing. If count is greater than 0, this will be true, and we return true. If count happens to be 0, this is false, and we return false. So nice little shortcut here. If you ever find yourself doing something like this, you can simplify it like that. Okay, so right now, I'm going to save this. If there's a couple of us who are working on the same database, it happens to be on like a local area network, or we're actually connecting to a database server, and you open a record and modify it, and let's say, we both go to customer, who are we saying, 24, 27? 27. We both go to open customer 27, and we both have that customer open on our screen, right? So we both run this application. We do get customer 27. All right, you and I both did this, and you click modify, you change Vincent's zip code and save it. I click modify and change his city and save it. I'm going to clobber your changes, right? Your changes are going to get overwritten because the SQL statement just said, look, update the customers, set the fields to these new fields where the customer ID equals the customer ID, and I don't care what the old values were. Okay, and this was, I forget what, last write wins, I think they call it. Basically, whoever the last person is that was able to run an update statement on this customer, their record is updated. And that is not optimistic concurrency. So to write the optimistic concurrency ourselves, we're going to update the customers where customer ID equals customer ID. And I'm going to add to this. And they put the and down here. And they put the space up here, whatever. Okay. And the name is equal to the old name. Oops, for my ampersand at the end here. And the address, hang on, I hit the wrong button. And the address is equal to the old address. And Just mute this. And city, so this is going to be address. It's going to be city, state, zip code. So we're making sure that these fields haven't changed since we loaded the data. And this is how we are manually writing optimistic concurrency. And we just added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields here. So I need to add these parameters with a value. So I'm going to take these, copy it, I'm going to paste it here. And notice I'm visually separating. Here's my update statement. Here's my where statement. Here's, to me, more of my where statement. Here are my update parameters, my main customer ID, and then all these other ones. So in this section, I need to take all the news and change them to the word old. And I'm going to, let's see if I can do this. If I look for new, change it to old, I want to match case, so that I get those changed. And I just want to do it in this section. Okay, got 5 of them updated, and then new to old, again in the section, place it, 5, good. All right, so just a nice find and replace there. Added all those, and now our update will work as long as nobody else updated that record. So I'm going to hit F5. Oh, you know what? I don't know if I ever uncommented out. So let's make sure. Let's not get ahead of myself here. Display, add modify customer, hit F7, uncomment the if, else, end if on the click event of the accept button. Well, easier way to get there is to do that, right? You open up the form, double click on the accept button. That'll take you to the click event of the accept button. And it said uncomment out the if, else, oops, and the end if. And we have an error here. What do we have here? Let me save this. With my customer DB. This should be public shared function. Okay, there we go. So on my update customer, it needs to be a shared function. And we're going to, my class, we're going to be talking about that later on, you know, what that means that it's shared, but know that that needs to be there. All right, so we uncommented that out. I had too many things open here. Let me close that. I'm not working with states. Okay, we uncommented that. Update customer is not a member of customer DB. Did I spell it wrong? I sure did. Okay, there we go. And remember, update customer returns true if it was able to update the customer, false otherwise. And this is making a big assumption that another user has updated or deleted that customer. You know, there could be a number of reasons why, well, that's really it, why the update failed. Either the customer ID doesn't exist or this data has been updated since then. All right, so we're going to run this. We're going to find customer 27. I'm going to hit modify. I'm going to move them to Mississippi, hit accept. You can see that's been updated. I'm going to hit exit. I wonder if, let me just look at something real quick. Yep, cool. Okay, I'm going to run it again. I'm going to go to customer 27. and Vincent is now in Boise, Mississippi. All right, that worked. We get to turn the page, and now we can see the end. We need to make this add work, right? So you fill this out, you hit accept, and we need to make that function work there. All right, the customer DB class. We need an add method. So I'll be honest, I'm just going to take this thing. Oops, hang on. All right, an add customer is going to take a new customer, and I imagine it's going to return a Boolean again. I just didn't want to retype that, so copy and paste that, change the update to an add. It only takes one customer in. Should return, oh, it's going to return an integer. It's going to return the new customer ID. And then add using the code from 1610. And you know what? I think we can do this without 1610. I think we're gonna do this heavily borrowed from update customer. All right. So I'm gonna take everything from update customer. I'm gonna put it in here. And let's see. So instead of update statement, we're gonna do an insert statement. And instead of an update command, this thing's going to be called insert command, which obviously gets run from the insert statement. And then we're going to, these parameters are going to get run on the insert command. And then my SQL statement is going to be insert into customers. This values that. And what I'm inserting is name, address, city, state, zip code, and the values are new name, new address, new city, new state, new zip code. Now, you might not want to make this on one line, but I'll be completely honest, I smell pizza downstairs. So I'm making this one line. So I have my string, and if I like unpin this there, you can see the whole thing now. Insert into customers, name, address, city, state, zip code, values, new name, new address, new city, new state, new zip code. I'm going to attach these parameters. This is all coming from the new customer, which is that object that comes in. We're not dealing with customer ID, and we don't have any of that old stuff, so I'm going to get rid of that. We are running an insert command, and this is going to change quite a bit, so I'm going to delete all this. We open the connection, we run this insert, make sure we get, that something gets inserted, and then close the connection. All right, now I'm going to peek back to the book. I'm on page 559, part 2 of 1610. This is part 2 of 1610. So I executed the non-query, and actually the book says I don't even care if it was successful or not. I would probably, you know what, I care. I'm going to say, and I can make this a little bigger now, if count equals 0, then return 0. Actually, it'd be more like return -1. So if for some reason we go to execute this and there's some failure, well, the SQL exception should pick it up, but who knows? Maybe we execute this and it doesn't add a row, it adds 0 rows. Then I want to return -1. And hopefully my customer maintenance application handles that. All right, part 2 is, what we need to do now is we need to look at what's the ID of the record that was just inserted. And again, this is where, other languages, PHP and MySQL especially, make this really simple. You just say, I think it's like MySQL insert ID is the method that takes care of this for you. However, we are not using that. We are creating a new select statement, and we're selecting this ident_current from customers. And then dim select command as SQL command. We're going to do select statement. This seems to be going really slow. Did I screw something up? Did I spell that wrong? All right, forgot the word new. Select command is new SQL command. I'm passing it the select statement, which is this one, and the connection, which is that connection I've been using all along. The connection's still open, which is kind of nice. It's not closed yet. And then dim customer ID as integer equals C int, and we're going to, on the select command, we're going to do this execute scalar, and then return customer ID. So remember, this execute scalar gives us the first field from the first row that my select statement returns. My select statement happens to only return one row and one field. It's going to take that one field, convert it to an integer, save it in customer ID, and that's what gets returned. If we didn't want to save it in the customer ID, we could also just say return cint, right? Because that's all we're doing with it. We're just returning it. All right, so make sure you throw some comments around this. That is adding a new customer. Again, if we look at the customer form here, if we are doing add customer, we are creating a customer. What are we doing here? We're running this put data function, which, if I find it, it takes the values from the form and builds that customer object. And then what we try to do is, I'm going to uncomment line 45 on customer DB, run add customer given the customer object. And that's that function that we just ran. And again, our customer function returns a customer ID. We're going to take that and put it on the customer. So let's run it. I'm going to click add. Hit accept. There we go. Customer 701. Let's remember that. And here I am, customer 701. I'm going to hit exit. I'm going to run this application one more time. And I want to get customer 701. And look, it's me. So I'm in the database. All right. That was like steps 13, 14, and 15. Step 15 was just testing it. All right. Step 16. We need to, on the customer DB, we need to delete the customer. Public shared function delete customer, and that's going to take in a customer ID. Again, if you spell it right, it goes a lot faster. And delete customer, oh, it is not taking the customer ID. It is taking an entire customer object. I'll come back to this. And it's going to return a Boolean whether it's successful or not. And the reason it's taking an entire customer object is because we're going to check for optimistic concurrency. If we just had a customer ID, then we would just delete the customer no matter what. We want to make sure that when I look at the customer and I think, yeah, I want to delete it, nobody else comes in and updates it in that split second that I'm thinking about it. All right, again, 1610 looks like part 3 has our delete customer. And this is pretty similar to our update. All right, I'm going to go back and forth with the update and just copy a few things here. So again, I need that connection. And then I need a delete statement as a string. Delete from customers where all right, I'm writing this a little differently, but that's okay. You get it's going to come up with the same result here. So delete from customers where customer ID equals customer ID. If I were to stop here, this would just clobber, right? As long as we get this customer ID, we're happy, it deletes it. But we want this optimistic concurrency. So where customer ID equals customer ID and name, address, city, state, zip. Oops, forgot my ampersands at the end here. So that's my query. Book does it a little differently, but the query ends up to be the same. You know, they just put the ands on the next line. Whatever. In the end, it's the same thing. And then I have my delete command as new SQL command, and I'm going to take that, I'm going to give it the delete statement and the connection. And then I'm going to take the delete command, parameters, add with value, the name of the parameter, and then the value. And I need, oops, I don't want to do that yet. I want to put an ampersand here. Okay. Now I'm going to replicate that a bunch of times. So the customer ID is delete me dot customer ID. The name is the name. The address is the address. Now I use this variable for the customer object delete me. In the book they call it customer. I don't know. I feel like if I call it delete me, then I know that that's the customer that's getting deleted, versus just calling it customer. It's a little too generic. Okay, so I add all those parameters, and then I'm looking at the book. I'm going to run a try. I'm going to open the connection. I'm going to execute the non-query, get the number of rows back. If it's greater than 0, return true. Otherwise, return false. Catch any exceptions, close it. Sounds exactly like this. This is coming from the update statement. I'm going to hit paste. I'm going to get rid of this stuff because I don't need it here twice. Oh, but we're not running update command. We're going to run delete command. Okay. Save that. If I look at my customer maintenance form and I look at the delete button, let's see. First, we see, do we really want to delete this customer? If they say yes, oh, right here. We're going to uncomment that, uncomment that, uncomment that. Save it, run it. Oh, and my antivirus kicked in because I've been working for over an hour. Give me a second. Let me just turn off my antivirus. Okay. So customer 701, that should be me. Hit delete. Do you want to delete it? Yes. Now if I look for customer 701 again, no customer found with that ID. So step 17 was deleting or uncommenting out these lines here, line 89, 98, and 100 within the button delete click event handler. And then step 18 is doing what I just did. Find your customer record in the database, run it, and make sure you can delete that record. So you wrote this customer db.vb class, and make sure it's well commented so I know that you know what's going on here. Same with the statedb.vb class. It's a lot shorter, but it's the same thing. Make sure you comment it because this actually has that loop on the reader. So that's something that you want to talk about. And then mmabooksdb.vb. Just, this is something I explained in class that once you write this once, if you ever do another application that you need to write a connection string, you'll probably come here and copy this because good for you if you can write this out and get it right the first time. And you don't have to worry about doing any commenting on the two FRM classes because that was given to you. So that's it. Save everything. Test it one more time to make sure it works. Make sure you can add a record, modify a record, delete a record. When you're happy with it, save it, zip it, and submit it.